So I'm going to tell you guys a quick little story. So this is like one time when I was like going up to Philmont, and it's in like New Mexico, you know, like the southwest or east or like part. It was in the United States. So like I was going up this mountain, and it's like really steep, really steep. I'm like insanely tired. Like it's dead. My knees are dead, and I look up, and it's like, whoa, this view is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's like something out of The Sound of Music. The music, like in the Sound of metal, in the Sound of Music, you know, the metal they go in, like that metal. Can you even actually understand what I'm saying? Not really, because Louise, what's the word I keep saying over and over again? Like,
so
yeah.
David started an account.
Yeah. So like, it's the most annoying thing when you hear people say like all the time the word like, and I've actually referred to it as the epidemic. It's killing me, literally, when I hear people use the word like as much. I'm a victim of this. I think I might be starting to it might be taking over me. I don't know, but. So I've linked the epidemic of like to mean a few things. First, the definition of the word like. Of the same form, appearance, kind, character, amount, etc. Or to regard with favor, have a kindly, friendly feeling towards. Never in there does it say, used when you can't think of a better thing to say other than That was the first thing I discovered when this epidemic started to spread. So my question is, to what extent can the use of the word like as a filler word be predicted based on age and gender? Those are the two communities. So you could say that I've grouped this into. So first I started off with a little bit of research looking into this, thinking where can I find the source of this? I thought, well, first it's going to be based in discussion and talking, but I can't just measure things in the hall. It's too random. I can't quantify that. So I started off with our own English class. I was going to do 5th hour, but I thought Disha might skew the results too much. So I did 2 studies. First, in our class, I did the junior class because we were juniors. Boys said it, in one discussion period, boys said the word like, as a population, 117 times. Girls said it 397 times. So that was the first thing I found. Girls, I'm sorry to say this, you are almost solely rooted for the reason that the word like is used. But that's not your fault. It sort of is, but it isn't. It's not because you're girls, but it is. Because as girls, you tend to socialize more, you talk more, especially in discussions. So that was the first thing I just figured out. People who talk more, they just have a higher chance of saying it. But then I went deeper in thinking, what happens if I make them aware of it? So obviously you were aware of the day that I was taking notes on this. Boys only said it 43 times, girls said it 118. That basically, for the girls, I cut it by 75%. Guys, a little bit less, closer to 50%. But that was a drastic result. I thought, maybe I found the cure. So I decided to test this even further, and I went next on to my younger brother's freshman class. I didn't personally do this. I had him do it because it'd be weird having a junior in their class. So I first started off with having him do it unaware in there. It was in his history class, because in his English class they don't discuss nearly as much as we do. And I was annoyed just as much. Guys said it 142 times. Not too big of a change. Girls said it 494 times. That's almost 100 more times. And I thought, maybe the cure will work on that. And it sort of worked. We had the same results. Not quite as well for guys, only 89 boys said, so still a good chunk. But girls said it 217 times. I was astonished. Like, this is working, this is working. So going even further, I had a teacher at my old middle school do this for me. 8th graders. Just from that point where you think they're high schools, but not quite. 139 times for guys, slightly less than the freshmen actually. But girls said it 562 times. It was staggering. I had him try the cure. The results didn't pop up here, but the results were the same. Girls said it the same number of times, percentage-wise, but the results were cut in half. So I thought, so there's another correlation here. Age, based on number of likes. I'm very scientific here. My math skills are astronomical. The younger you get, the more time that you'll say like. So I tried to figure out why. My first word that popped in my head was, they're dumber. And I thought about it more and more, and it's because the younger you are, you have less of a vocabulary. You'll start thinking of you start using that a lot. Because you can't think of that perfect word. You're trying to become mature and use the larger words. So you'll say like fewer times as you get older. But when you're younger, the younger you get, the more likely you are to say the word like. Because you don't know what else to say. like is all you'll hear from them. So when you think about that, the language makes sense for why they're using it. They're younger, they don't have as good vocabulary. But as I went further and further into this, I thought more and more about how it can't just be about their maturity or their vocabulary. It has to be something else. And I thought, could it also be community? It could also be like community as our generation. Our generation can't think of a better word because maybe just as a whole we don't know as much. So I asked my parents how they talked when they were younger, and they didn't use the word like. They didn't really use the word like at all except for improper terms. So I thought this could be another thing. Our community as a generation is defined by, not entirely, but by one word almost, like. We use likes on Facebook, people use like all the time. It just, there's more and more of the word like being used improperly, but at the same time, people want to use it more because that's just our generation. So as a whole, we can't totally say like is what we're defined by, but we're defining what the word like means. We're changing the language. So that brings me to my final question that I asked myself. So how can I change this? Making people aware of it is considered rude. Like in another class, I was using that correctly though, as in a similar situation. Like in another class, I used to try and, I'd count this, I would do it more obviously, but I wasn't doing it for this, I was just doing it because I was very bored. And I would count on my fingers, like, every time someone said the word like. And they would get very, very mad at me. Like, why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to give a presentation. And they would count. And they get more and more mad. So I was thinking, why can't we do that? What's wrong with telling people about their mistakes? So that's another issue we have. The word like is becoming more and more incurable as it's settled into our society. So you see, it's getting more and more used by people who are younger. And I think that's also an issue of not just age, but also, as I said, our generation. Because the younger you're going to get in this generation, the more you're going to use it. And that's just because of generation. They're the future people. So they're going to be using it more and more, I think. And evidence is showing that's probably true. So as a whole, the word like has been changed by our generation and our age, and our gender even. Girls will say it 4 times as much as guys. I broke that statistic down even further when I checked it at how much each girl individually would say it during the class period. For our class alone, the individual girl said it 25 times for the number who were taking part in the unbeknownst survey. But the guys, they only said it 10 times. Probably close to 13 actually. So when you think about that, girls are still saying it twice as much, but since there are more girls in our class, I have to take that into account. So why are still, other than the fact they're more social, they participate more, there's more of them, why are girls saying like more? I continue to think more and more and more and more about it. And I figured girls just like to use the word like. I too. This is just coming from a guy, so I can't be totally certain. I'm sorry if I'm going to offend anyone, but I see girls as, oh, I like that. Or that, I like that, that looks good. Or, this was like that time when I did this. I compare, I say, do I like this or not? So it's a gender thing also. Gender, age, and just generation in general. That's the whole reason why girls and guys will use the word like differently. Guys tend to use it as a filler in general, but girls use it for so many other things, it's become natural for them to say it anyway, so they will say it in everyday speech as the filler word. So that basically brings me to my presentation. The word like is an epidemic that's going to be difficult to cure if people can't overcome the fact that it's going to be rude. So, I've got a little gift for all of you. These are 3 different hazmat suits that I found for this epidemic. They come in black, yellow, and orange. Personally, I'm going to be purchasing a black one, but you can go for the yellow and orange also. I think they'll look good. And that's all I have for you.